have some special days just for you guys here. Yeah, some work days just for your church.
Oil club boys.
If we do this once a month.
We're out here, you know, Mary's class. Oh.
Say your name for us.
Alex Harvey.
Harvey?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you in school here?
I'm homeschooled, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That must be nice. You don't have to put up with the bad children.
Yeah. That's actually why my mom chose to homeschool me.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
My parents never had time to do that. They both had to work, and there's nobody to do it. So you're very fortunate.
Yes, I am.
So where do you live?
Mountain Springs Drive. I don't know if I get there.
Mountain Springs. Yeah. Well, great. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be a biologist maybe when you grow up, or?
Maybe. That is definitely a choice. I don't really know what I'm going to do though.
Well, we're glad you're here.
I am too.
Appreciate it. Let's save that one, yeah. Those are native watermelons that you grow here, right? Good. Well, next year this time, you hope.
I like the other stuff on the grass back there.
That'll be a lot easier to take down after it dries a while.
This is a huge chunk, huh?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. So, Mindy, you think it'll be ready to burn in a couple weeks? Yeah, it needs to dry out. And then,
So y'all think that's funny to tease me with the burning thing?
To tease you?
Well, what I'm
teasing you?
Well, but you say it in front of me to get a rise like Jennifer did the other day, and then she's upset because I said, well, I'll have the lawyer out.
I'm just thinking about next steps.
But you can't burn.
You can't burn that? You don't think?
It does have poison ivy in it. There is
You guys come across
bound to be
poison
some.
ivy today?
Not much. No more than was over there.
But that was red herring I threw out, wasn't it? Poison ivy.
What happened?
if you burn poison ivy, it's the most dangerous thing, smoke you can have around. People die from just inhaling a little of it, so you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it is bad. 'Cause I'm
Second,
allergic to poison ivy.
the biggest thing we're trying to do is to demonstrate healthful ways to do it, and habitat preservation and improvement. So as good as
By
wild.
not using the herbicides, though, that we are taking the most helpful approach.
Well,
And
the
fire
herbicides.
is natural in a wetland
Yeah.
prairie.
Fire sometimes, but we're in the middle of a city.
Yeah, but the thing is we burned the other area, and the area that we burned the other day probably had as much poison ivy in it as this area over here. And I mean,
Well,
we
you
didn't
did
run
do
across
it.
any- What now?
You did do it. Yes, you did do it.
But no, and
But
No, I think, you know what?
to burn in this day and age goes against everything that Audubon and Sierra and so
Audubon
forth
does
fight
burn.
for.
Audubon
In
burns.
appropriate places, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But this is not
Yeah.
way out in the
I mean, we're
human
trying all
beings
kinds
in
of
any direction
ways.
can be affected by the smoke.
I mean, we are.
Plus the
you know,
wildlife.
We are not using any herbicides at all. We are doing things piecemeal. We're using people. I mean, we are doing
Right.
this by hand.
Well,
So if anyone,
no, Lauren does it by hand.
if
This is by
anybody-
machine.
If anybody
Fran.
can say that we're doing something destructive here, then somebody's not
Well,
paying
the
attention
fire,
to what's going on. I
the
think.
fire itself is
A fire is
is
a
the
demonstration
problem.
way of
Okay.
doing things. We're test
It's-
plotting. You know,
it's been tested many times. I've
also
read
is a
online.
great idea.
The goats are the best, yeah.
Out.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it.
But well, we just have to get the goats. I've got 2 pens in there we can use.
Well, I've got the goats. I can get the
You do?
goats.
Bring them.
4-H wants to do it.
Bring them.
But
That's
this,
good.
But
That's
Aubrey,
a great
this is,
idea.
I mean, we have all. This is why we have a technical advisory committee is to research the ways and to vote on the ways of managing this property, and that's what we decided.
But-
And that's what, if you talk to anybody who's done any wetland prairie restorations, they all burn. They
Yeah.
burn,
herbicides.
So those are
And
great.
herbicides.
Those are great
Use
pines.
Roundup.
Yeah.
you know?
And so just the fact that we're not using Roundup seems like a more sound way to take care of the problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, hand removal is great, but you can see like the effectiveness
Well,
of that compared to the
This is
effectiveness of
fast, but the next step should be digging out the roots, not burning it.
Thanks a lot.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The burning itself is a negative thing. It's not that it's not a natural fire in the wild is one thing,
Right.
but doing it next to homes and inside the city is not smart.
But I called the fire department and got permission to do it. So as long as
That's
it's
right.
okay
But
with
do
the
you know
fire
that
department-
Arkansas in the 80s actually had a statewide rule against all outdoor burning? Farmers and developers are the ones who wanted burning back, and they got it. So now you can get a permit. Fire department does not want you to start a wildfire.
No,
They
they
don't.
don't.
This
But
all
we're not in the
goes- the city
wildland,
picks
so
up
the
all this.
wildfire's not going to start
It's
here.
gotta be dragged
We're
to
in
the
the city.
entrance.
And I mean, I have knowledge.
How's the
of
fire truck get back here?
How does the fire truck get back here? Well, it could get back here, but it's close. I mean, it could pull up as close as it is to the road, and that's the thing. That's why we're only doing little test plots at a time. Like,
Okay.
if we were doing areas that could possibly get out of hand, then we wouldn't be.
Well,
doing
that
it.
one over there was close to it. You may have killed a willow. Well, one little
No,
willow, we
I
know.
didn't kill it. I was watching it, and I don't think that it did harm the willow.
Well,
I
the
mean,
big willow may be okay. It only got to the base, but there's a little one out there. But I mean, we're arguing details, but the principle of burning where it could affect other property and take out some of the species you want to save is the high risk thing in here.
But we're not doing that, though. We're not taking out species that we want to save. We're just burning piles of honeysuckle that we pulled out.
Okay, show me honeysuckle in this pile. What is this? This is a wild grape.
Well, Aubrey, you can't
There are
do that.
wild roses in there. Well, you keep doing it manually. We just have to get these roots out manually. That's what my wife's been doing for 4 years on this property. There's areas up here that still haven't totally been retaken by it that she did then.
Well, why don't, I mean, the thing is that's great that she's doing that by hand, and then the plots that she is doing by hand, and the plots that we're covering with black plastic, and then the plots that we're weed eating and burning, that's why we're having this technical advisory group to go back and look at the plots that we've done the different methods on and see what's the most effective. Because the bottom line seems to me that for the grant, if you guys want this project to go forward, you got to meet the requirements of that grant so that you guys can get future grants to go along with this project.
Grants need to be written realistically that this did promise more than is reasonable to complete in a year. That high percentage is a terribly hard thing to do. If we work every weekend and during the week, you know, you might do it all in a year. But if you lose things like the roses that bloom along this trail this year and your wild grapes, you're losing that represents a great deal of bird food that's going to be needed this winter. And that's why I want to do it strictly after the freeze, after the frost. I'd like to have the goats, if we can get the goats, and have them because they can just eat green stuff in the wintertime. Right now, they'll eat as much as the fire will. They're going to eat whatever they choose that they like. They may like the native species better than the honeysuckle. But when it gets dead, then your whatever's green is going to be the thing they eat first. So I think you'll have a high rate of honeysuckle reduction. But you have to remove the roots of honeysuckle. That's a given.
It's a restoration project, though, and like during the restoration, I mean, we might do some detriment to some of the native species, but in the end, I mean, this is going to be a restored wetland, which in the end is going to be a lot better habitat for birds and other wildlife. But in the process of doing that, we might actually take out a little bit of habitat. We might take out some native forms of food. But I think in the end,
by doing it by certain times of the year, by planning it so that they utilize the food in succession and do it in the dead time. I mean, even as high as this is, this winter, you'll be able to walk through here anywhere you want because it will be down. If we have a good freeze, which we haven't had in the last 3 years, I'm hoping this is the year again, this is down till it looks like it's just grassland in the wintertime. You can go, have you ever been on our website? You can see pictures of the winter thing. You got to work today?
Pleasure.
It's something else? What are you doing?
Yeah, I have a couple jobs.
Oh my God.
I do, yeah. And I'd set up a day in my planner in October to meet with your mom had sent me a list of dates that were optimal for you guys, and I have my planner up in the car so I can tell you when the date is, or just email her back and get in touch with her, and then just bring those papers in and I'll sign them, and we'll set up a Saturday when you guys want to meet that would be convenient for you and the other scouts to come down, and you can do your project. And
see, really any Saturday would be okay because the weather's just being perfect so far.
It is, yeah, it's been really nice. So I'll have to, since Jennifer's the leader of this project, we were thinking about making sure that the time is optimal for her to be down here so she can just kind of be here. I might not even be here, but I know that she will be, and so we'll just set up a date that's good for her and good for you guys, where it'll be just you guys here, and you can, you know, kind of, since you've seen what was going on today, where you can kind of lead troops in just little sections to do, you know, to do the project. And we weren't sure if you had to, if you needed to build something, or is it okay?
No, actually, I just need to take this out.
Okay.
All I need to do.
Okay. Would you feel comfortable running the leader, or do you guys just want to do hand removal?
Big tree. It goes here and
I might have some adults come.
It's the habitat tree. You see what it is? It's
but I definitely want those.
Right. Right.
But
and then as long as everyone was dressed appropriately, they could do the pulling back with the rakes and pitchforks, right?
Through the middle of that tree.
Okay, good deal. Well, then we'll just set up a meeting for and I'll make sure that Jennifer's able to come, and then you and your mom, and we can sign the papers and then set the work day up for you and your scouts.
We negotiated with the
yeah, thanks for coming out today.
You're welcome.
Okay,
when
bye-bye.
trying to get his approval,
Where do I put this right?
that he would leave,
I'll take
put
it.
a fence 8 feet out, a wooden privacy fence, and then we would keep our fence in there, and this would be the wildlife running. Because we didn't know we were just trying to negotiate anything we could save in the process. So that's why I asked her, please don't go on this side, because I don't want to see out here or have people, my pet rabbits are right there.
Right.
And that's why one of the reasons I don't want to burn. We did have a fire right out there. There's a shed, and there was an old chicken house, and it burned. Some guys younger than you set some cans of something on fire in there, and it burned it. The wind was blowing that way. My wife was outdoors and smelled the smoke. We got the fire department at that time. They came up in over there, and they were able to bring their hoses and put it out. But I had the garden hose standing there trying to stay away, you know. rabbits,
scary.
chicken house over here, and everything. We've got all the vegetation we've grown. Well, if you see right out there, you see an oak tree. There's a line of 3 young trees right there. Those have grown in less than 10 years. The trunk you see going up as tall as any leaves. Things really grow. This is all wetland in our yard, and we have pallets to walk on. They're 6 inches tall. They're like Coca-Cola pallets that they throw at the university. The guy that's the manager would tell me when he had some, because he didn't want Coca-Cola company would never come get them. He said, "Get these off my thing." So we made and what we want out here eventually is a walkway up near the wetland portion that is, but not in plastic. We'd like it to be something natural, like cedar wood or something, that so you can actually take a personal wheelchair through here. And that dream vision that we're looking at while we're doing all this is to have it so they can go through and say, "Oh, here's so-and-so and so-and-so," and use it to not only teach but to please people, and be a place you can come out here and be quiet and watch birds.
Great vision.
Well, right now it looks far away with all that work to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it didn't.
But
that's how these things happen.
But it'll be,
you know better than anybody.
A generation coming up, his children, your children, will be able to come and see it as we dream of it. And you can tell them, well, we worked on this when it was just horrible things.
It was going to be a parking
lot. And I know
lot.
Grouchy Man over next door there.
It was going to be a parking lot.
He didn't want us to set fire to it.
This is the man who kept it from being a parking lot.
Yeah, one of the people, with their help. But that was one of the things I negotiated with him, and he understood, because he was trying to please us. Some of the developers are so arrogant that, well, I bought this land, I can do anything I want to with it. I say, wait a minute, but you're changing it for everybody, and you're changing it for the wildlife. And people will want to live here more if you've still got a row of trees and you've got wild birds using it, and they can put up their bird feeders and attract more of them in. But if you've got that native area around it, then it's going to be more attractive. And some of them understand that, and some of them say, well, we're going to take it all down, then we'll plant some trees. Well, if you plant a tree now, to get this big, it's for your kids or grandkids, not for you. You're not going to see it that big.
100 years.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Well, anyway, you too.
But I'm going to take a look, if I may. And good day.
Thanks for being here.
See you later.
Thank you, Will. Thank you,
Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Good day.
See you.
Tell Debbie Joe I said hello.
Okay. Starts at 7:30, and anyway, we're gonna go there. You'll go there.
All right. I actually have to work at my other job tonight, but if I get out in time, I might.
Go till 9:30.
Okay. And where is it again?
Trinity Methodist Church. Trinity Methodist Church. Sycamore Garage.
And Sarah is Carly's oldest daughter, and her husband Galen.
She used to go there a lot.
She's pregnant. She's pretty pregnant these
She's
days.
pretty pregnant.
She's due in November.
Oh, no wonder she got. Let's see her.
Although it'd be good for her.
Okay, and who's this here today?
I'm Cindy Sagers, and you and I met maybe 2 years ago when we walked the site with the botany class.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I have to say hello to Chuck.
Huh? I haven't seen Silas in a while.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you again. Doesn't it look great?
Just going to get you on your bike. Tell me your name again while I've got it on tape.
Adam.
Adam.
Climate.
And I did email you a picture or something, right? Did you get it?
Yeah, I sent an email. My email address has changed though.
Oh, yeah?
If you want to write it down.
I do want to write it down. I don't have a pen. You don't have a pen, do you?
Soil erosion. I think there's one sitting over here.
Oh, okay.
Let me grab it real quick.
Are you just in the beginning of
You got a...
Yeah, you can put it on one of my cards, I guess. It's Sunday, September 17th, 2006. Well, you can see the a rose vine still alive. It's green as a top. But it's lying down. It doesn't have its cedar tree anymore. There's the cedar stump. The Aspen Ridge site hadn't been worked on since July, I think. We're probably going to see a little more erosion. More mud coming down. See that they've driven vehicles back there a little bit, but it hadn't quite dried out since the rain some time back there. So you can see that we've got mud at the bottom. Of course, that's the slimy mud without topsoil. And they're, of course, compact the ground with red dirt there in preparation for making this a street entrance to Aspen Ridge. A dangerous situation there in Hoodpile's yard, of course. And if we should get a lot of rain, not only will he have no way to drive out up here, like it was a couple of weeks ago, for a few hours he couldn't drive out down there because the water was covering his driveway for a while now. Wasn't the worst it's gotten. It didn't actually wash all the gravel out this year yet. In 04 it washed the gravel out 2 or 3 times. Here he comes desperately trying to mow before the rain comes. Not sure why. With that mower he can mow it however tall he gets, but he wants it mowed. Keeps it really nice. Lots of beautiful flowers. And feeds on a lot of birds, a lot of squirrels. Always got something blooming during the time of year when it's possible. Cell phones can get you killed. Well, clouds are nice. Well, suddenly rain matches the noise. Well, the street's wet now. Had rain for an hour or two, and September 17th. You can see this muddy water is coming through the silt fence from Aspen Ridge development site and flowing muddy down our driveway, which makes us a source of pollution even though we didn't do it. Here's an example of water that is coming off the greenery and has not arrived by way of that development site. So it's pretty wet right now, and the lake, you can see water from that's coming through our yard is now routed back into the street here and then down there to that next storm drain opening. So it's getting into the storm drain right behind that hay bale. They've set it in a good place, but it doesn't help with the water from this side. Some on that end. Of course, when this goes a little more, there'll be overflow directly from the lake, as we call it, which we saw just a bit earlier here. The new lake, 11th and South Duncan Lake. There's the overflow, and there's where it comes from. Running off a wide area of south, the Aspen Ridge development site, old trailer park, coming all the way from the railroad maybe. And you can see it running into the storm drain here, all muddy. And the water from that pipe that's facing us is coming down from up there, almost to those trees. There's an inlet up there, and that's where that's coming from. It's draining that area all the way back up to the railroad to the west there. And you can see, as we predicted, the bank is fairly safe and will continue to erode. Fortunately, the only fishing that we catch, I'll be trying. The water flows in like this down the creek just to get active. Water flows under that waterfall, under the, it pours in here to the right. And that's actually the top of the outlet pipe that water's pouring on and spewing outward. And it's just running under there and going back to our right. Storm drain itself is continuous with that box that's there, and then further down there's one, and then it flows into the town drain to the west fork of the White River. Just centered there. It's under the edge of the bridge and pours out right there. We might go see if we can spot it. Come from there, and old black and white cat's following us. As we said, the storm drain comes toward us and continues right here. And this one has no cover also. Should get an idea of the muddy flow as it proceeds to our right, headed toward the creek. There's the pipe continuing, and that appears to be a separation in the pipe that's never been sealed up. And so, hard to tell. It's a black material seals it, maybe it's sealed. Can't tell from here. I feel like getting down there. I guess it doesn't matter. There are enough places the muddy water's pouring in without seeing that one does. Here's the third storm drain box. Which eventually, of course, we'll have only water running off the street from this side. You can see where that's cut, and there'll be a top. And so we have a small opening for the water to go in. But right now, there's potential to collect water directly from the sky, or if it keeps raining, there'll be more overflow from the disturbed ground around it. A good flow, not as big as it was a couple of weeks ago. And of course, if this were just water coming off green space, like Hooten Pile's yard, it'd be okay. Interesting situation here is that there's muddy overflow into Hooten Pile's yard down here in the lowest part. And that's coming someplace. I'm not quite sure. That's coming up out of the ground, I think. This is just leakage. Otherwise it wouldn't be this muddy. Or it's come down the street. Well, that all should be caught. Even the other side of the street, you'll notice is muddy. So that's some of the muddy water that has come across the street from our yard where it's been overflowing. But this part of Hooten Pile's yard is mowed, but it's mostly the right kind of soil. If you see upstream and across the creek, you see the wrong kind of soil. That's the same sort of land that was vegetated in native grass and native trees and things that washed down there and started growing, of course, off lawns and whatnot. But it was a beautiful area, and it was very low, and the overflow water out there helped to slow down the flow and potential flooding downstream. This ground's been raised several feet so that it's no longer gives the appearance of a wetland area. But you get a clue here. Black and white cat loves to drink water, so he's even sampling the muddy water in this washover off the muddy land. He'll sample every water hole he comes to. VW loves water. I don't suppose this is going to hurt him, but it means to get some grit in his tummy, just like the stream gets grit in it from this sort of dirty overflow. Well, from Hooten Pile's yard, that water's draining off right there into the creek, and it has been cleansed a little. The water that's coming out there is not as muddy as it could be. Water line crosses has been replaced and improved out here, deep down underground there. So this is moderately muddy runoff, but you can tell the yellow tint that it picked this up from construction there, because that's the kind of soil that is there in lieu of topsoil now. Topsoil would have been black if it were out here, or somewhat like the color of the soil you see. Down Well, we can't quite see underneath. See, some water is pouring directly into the creek from the street without benefit of even going through a storm drain. Storm drain on the other side appears not to be functioning at all, and that's a curious thing. Why is nothing coming out of it? The one on this side clearly is getting all that muddy water we saw from above. And let's see, some homeless guy lost an article of clothing, looks like, over there. We get a lot of new trash from here. What's happened? Here's where the water's pouring in off the street. Nothing coming in from that storm drain on this side. Of course, we can see silt in it. There's gravel in it. Entered upstream. So maybe the entranceway is clogged up. What's happening with it? I don't know. If we can get in position to actually see the muddy flow coming down. So, yeah, you can see it's coming out, but the stream's gotten high enough that it pushes it back, and there's a little war there going to try to get out into the creek. You can see the water that's come from the right is slightly clearer than the water there. You can see the extra yellow. And that's because there's so much water coming off of greenery further up on the mountain to the west University campus coming down this creek. And that means it's going to be quite as totally muddy here in a big rain. There's that water coming off, especially off this construction site. We hope when the construction's done that water coming off of there will be clean and pretty. At least that's the theory. It's supposed to happen. We knew that eventually the Heritage Trail signs would come to our neighborhood because this is a street that represents an old road that served as the route for the Butterfield stage when it ran. So it's pretty old. Trail of Tears represented on that sign also, and that's not necessarily on this route so much as up to the right where it went west, a quarter mile to the north maybe. But the Indians who traveled the Trail of Tears probably camped all up and down this creek. There's a sign on the university campus at 6th Street talking about the day when a great large number of people were here and camped on their way west to their new land. And there's a car on the Heritage Trail, all going up Heritage Trail. Hi. That's what this part of the Heritage Trail looks like today. And the stream that the travelers, such as people on the Trail of Tears or people who stopped on the Butterfield Trail, might have actually been comfortable drinking from in those days, is mightily polluted. At this moment, it's silt for certain, and everything else that runs off the streets and yards uphill. herbicides, pesticides, so forth. Water coming down Hill Avenue also shows the sign of the yellow mud off the Aspen Ridge side. And you'd have to walk up there to see where it comes across. Again, there's a heritage trail sign. Youngsters probably don't have much concept of what that's about, but it's part of their heritage. Someday they'll know about it. This is a little creek that drains from the east side of Hill Avenue over the back of the cemetery and behind the houses here and so forth. But it flows into a storm drain here, but it doesn't come out at the one by the bridge, and for some reason I thought I remembered that was where it came from. You can see it flowing pretty strongly out there. But the question is, where does it enter the creek? Probably behind one of these houses, but I don't know the exact spot. There's the other side of Hudenpau's place. See the muddy water running off of Aspen Ridge side here. And that muddy water is coming out of the storm drain. It's underground, comes from up above and around that way. It probably drains to the detention pond that's up, just up across that hump up there. And this detention pond, of course, is holding all it can hold. We didn't come see what it had in it yesterday, but doesn't appear it's going to hold more than this, because it's got an outlet and it's above that outlet right now. So just more erosion, more wasted dirt and gravel, all going down the creek. I've worked on this in maybe 3 months. Now you can see back to 11th Street across some of the low part, Hudenpau's driveway, the low side. Lots of mud going in the creek. Of course, several places on this site dump muddy water in upstream from here. Well, don't want to bring any Johnson grass. Getting close to where this little pond will retain some, because now the pavers underneath are beginning to show up, which they didn't a couple of minutes ago. The flow was completely over this area. But they do have some hard surface there to slow the runoff just a little, hold a little of it back. But what's missing is the absorbent soil up here that should be soaking up and holding this water for later use underground and downstream. The idea of the setting of this, it used to be some we have on video and still shots of beautiful woods here, and the land's level was lower than the land you see out there, Hudenpau's mowed yard. So it's changed drastically. Ironically, the streets back up here are going to be almost down to that level. Although they're higher, they're filled, but they weren't raised up the way this is, where this building's going to go, one of the 3-story condominium buildings. They have set up the new silt fence through here, and that's just a little bit of progress on a day like this. That's reducing the mud a little bit, but as always the case, new silt fences have weaknesses. There's a spot, there's a spot, looks like a rock or a chunk of wood is against it there. So water does get through and take the mud with it, and that means it violates the purpose of the silt fence, which is what's supposed to be prevented. Nice vines growing out here trying to cover up the ugliness and re-green this area. Some wild things, poke, and all sorts of stuff. But the flowering vines of this sort are wonderful. All this is a storm sewer cover. Question is, which side does the water, just where some enters, or is that just access to it? See the nice fish that portrays the Fayetteville stormwater system. Vines trying to cover it up. It's already rusty. These things are beautiful with the raindrops on them. This is a collection point here for runoff from this ugly dirt, and you can see during the last hour or so it was up in when it was raining hard, which it may do again, the way that sounds. You had the runoff coming around the end and even under that concrete work, and same thing on the other side. Some pretty nasty muddy water flowing across. These blooms are very nice. The rain's battered them and tattered them. The color's still delightful out here. I'm sure these won't be allowed to stay here because they're wild, and probably a good chance they're native species, and they'll be decorating this with some put and take flowers or something. So they're trying to grow along the wall over there, and so you can see what happens here. This muddy water, they've put in a nice new batch of hay to the hay bales are supposed to filter this water flowing through here. As you can see, that doesn't happen to the degree they'd like it to. So it's not a really important, it's just a minor thing. We've got to assume it helps quite a bit, but it doesn't appear to help at all, because the water on this side appears to be the same color as the water on the outside. And you can see there's only a little flowing right now, but before we came out here when it was raining hard, there's a big flow. So this is what's coming out of the open box hole right down there and running straight into the creek. So in this case, the quote detention pond is nothing but this street base, and that's not helping. at all. It needs to be fully vegetated. Should have been done months ago before they went to work on the other side of the creek. And this wall looks like a sloppy job, but neighbors didn't do it. Neighbor Kurt would have made it a lot better. Sure. You can see erosion marks on all the hill edges. There is grass growing along the riparian area, but that's area that should have been protected to start with. Treeless trail runs across there. Be interesting to see what they plant next to it. Probably some non-native plants. We hope they pick some good ones. And now we come to the walking bridge. Not much flowing out of the detention pond over that way. On the other side. A lot coming down the creek still. That's the detention pond. That green is on the dam of the detention pond. And downstream toward Hootenpile's house in 11th Street. Upstream toward 6th Street and the university where some of that muddy water originates. Looking south to 1101 South Duncan Avenue. And of course the yard over there is getting some of this muddy runoff. Some more wild things trying to take over. Cover it up. Cover it up. Silt fence hasn't all been repaired on this side. It's like a mess. You see the deep cuts of erosion all across the embankment between us and the railroad. And there's a detention pond up there just beside these three trees. There's the lone survivor of the batch of cypress trees. There are at least 3 nice ones over there, and they are on the edge, of a wetland prairie area that's back to the right. Water came from the railroad. Water comes under the railroad through a big pipe right up there. To put in the new silt fence, they've dug a trench out here. Sadly, the trench itself hasn't been filled around it, so it doesn't have the effect of it's supposed to. So you can see the muddy slime collects from this road base and land adjacent to it up here on toward the northwest corner and flows southeast down this street. It's got to be really full to flow into the storm drain there, but it shouldn't be flowing at all. Of course, it should be trapped by a detention pond. It's not what's happening at this moment. Here's the sanitary sewer. And suspicious. 1140 elevation right here. Top of that storm drain box. And you can see the river flowing toward Hootenpile's house. Some of this comes from the street from the southwest. Flows in right here and joins this mess. That's slowed down, but there's no indication it's not going to rain more. View to the north. Street full of water. Tree that was supposed to be protected that's now dead, and has limbs breaking off. I can't even remember which tree that was or what kind it was, but it's gone. You can see that muddy water is going right now. A good part of it's going over toward Hootenpile's fence, and then it's probably that, and over here where we saw some running goes into the creek right back there. So he's getting some of the muddy runoff, I'm sure. He doesn't need that in his garden. It's not the kind of soil that the silt won't improve that garden. You can see a lot of it flowing down right there and continuing on over to run into the lake at 11th Street. 11th Street, South Second Lake. And then that's a different source over there. You can see a storm drain behind the sewer box, and that's where it picks up and runs directly to that storm box underground. Of course, that's the corner of World Peace Wetland Prairie. It's been cut off in the development process. And there's the far southwest corner. Quite a mound of dirt. You can see all the way to the Smith house from here. You can see all this bare dirt sending runoff into the creek. It truly is a mess. And of course, near that fire plug, water's running over into the next yard illegally because the fence is knocked down by their dirt piling process. And from here you can see the lake has not gone, in the time we walked around the area, the lake has not gone down. It's still within a foot and a half of the level of the street, and another big rain, it'll be pouring over into the street again. Of course, here's another beautiful oak that's probably going to die because its roots have been cut off. Just a few places there's topsoil, and even muddy water has gotten into that area around the trees because that's higher over on that side and it's flowed in. Not a good thing. And there's one of the few storm drains that has an actual cover on it, but it's not picking up overflow like the one right down the street that the street is, but it is picking up water running off of this muddy area upstream. So we're standing in what's a park area, supposed to be connected to the World Peace Wetland Prairie, and it's not very park-like. It may be even less when it's finished because some of these trees will be dead and gone. Here's where water runs underneath the silt fence to the World Peace Wetland Prairie. You can see the flow right back there, and it's coming down and going under right there, all along there. And some of it probably goes in up there where it first hits. It runs along it before it goes under. Little muddy water on both sides of the silt fence, which means the silt fence is not working properly. And it never will. They don't actually work well at all. The natural places that a little creek goes through. They didn't plan that so they would send any water in the World Peace Wetland Prairie. They're not supposed to. But if it were clear water, if it weren't like this, World Peace Wetland Prairie vegetation would benefit from it. But this is not something that... And here's the muddy flow coming off of Aspen Ridge all the way to the south end of World Peace Wetland Prairie. So this is not silt we wanted to add to this wonderful soil in here. You can see it going there, and what doesn't soak in on this land will of course